Good evening, everybody. I call this meeting to order. Apologies for starting late. We had a few meetings beforehand and that they overran by the amount that we're running late now. So thank you for your forbearance. And welcome to the meeting on the 29th of April, our full council, an extraordinary meeting that's been called by Councillor Brookes and Councillor Wadsworth. I like to say that for the duration of this evening's meeting, in accordance with Standing Orders 3, Para 3I, and as Chairman, I waive the requirement to stand when speaking, unless you wish to do so. And moving on, starting the agenda proper, apologies and reasons for absence. Do we have any apologies and reasons for absence?
Councillors Padmore and Nicks.
Thank you. For any reasons? No. Okay.
Can I just raise a point of order on that, because that was removed at one time, because publicly we don't have to give the reasons.
No.
And somehow it's gone back.
Okay, thank you for that point of order. To receive and approve apologies for absences. Well, we normally would expect to receive apologies, so that's...
Yeah, but we don't,
okay,
because there might be a private health
thank you very much
issue or
indeed.
something that's not to be disclosed.
Thank you. So we've got two. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder? Proposer is Councillor Clerk, seconder is Councillor Wadsworth, and a vote to accept apologies and reasons. That's unanimous. Thank you. Happy?
Yep.
Moving on, declarations of members' interest in applications for dispensation. Does anybody have any applications for this?
Yes, I will add to this in the meeting later on.
Your members' interest, but there's nothing for this particular.
Nothing for this meeting, but we'll do so for the.
We'll try to get to it. Okay, thank you very much. Did anybody else got anything else?
I don't, but can I just raise a point of...
Please do,
yes,
Councillor Brookes.
when we declare, we should say just what agenda item it's on. Again, you don't have to give a full reason.
15. So it's agenda item 15.
So it's minuted that the member gave. Sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
Thank you.
Agenda item 15.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any other members interested in declare or dispensations? No, thank you very much indeed. Then moving on to item 3, deputations from members of the public. Do we have any deputations from members of the public? Looking at you, sir. Do you wish to say anything at this point? No, but thank you. So no deputations, and the very first item is to agree the minutes of the 8th of April. So, do we have any amendments to the minutes for the 8th of April?
I propose.
You want to propose the minutes?
Yes.
We've got a proposer. Can we have a seconder, please? It's either Councillor Wadsworth or Councillor Clark, as appropriate.
No problem.
And proposed by Councillor Brookes. So, if there are no comments at this stage, then we'll take the vote now, please. And have a vote on the adoption of the minutes. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on then, thank you very much for that, to item 5, which is the payroll provider approval. So, the proposal is that our Oakham Town Council supports the signing of the contract with DCK Payroll Solutions at a cost of £1,173 per annum. Can I have a proposer, please, and a seconder? And then we'll get into the debate. Nobody wishes to say anything? Councillor Brookes.
I'll just say that it's a very good move.
Good. Okay, well, that was certainly within the 3 minutes. Thank you.
And we agree with that.
Yeah. So if there's no further debate, then so we just vote, please, to accept the proposal or not. So I think that's unanimous. Have you got the proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah. As the paper.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody. Moving on to item 6, which is the public spaces booking form.
No, HR service.
Oh, sorry.
Turn it over too quick.
Yeah, I did turn over too quickly. Yes, the HR services approval to approve the position of the HR service provider. Do we have a proposer? Thank you, and a seconder. We'll go on to the debate. Please.
I see that somebody has retired. I'm not familiar with the rules and regulations of what level we need to get 3 quotations, and did we get 3 quotations?
Right, yeah, I can answer that. We didn't get 3 quotations because this is a very specialist field, as you can imagine, with councils. And the recommendation came from one of the few that does this kind of specialist HR work for councils, because obviously for councils it's very different to everything else. So this is one that very few people could supply. Chris Moses, as you said, retired for personal reasons. And I looked around, and this is one of the few ones that basically has about 8 staff, and therefore can provide not only HR support but also solicitor support, which is fairly unique. I spoke to Alrac and they highly recommended it as giving us expertise, and basically said to me, you won't find any other solicitors who provide this comprehensive a service as you need. So in other words, these people are based all over the UK and they provide a service. We're trying about 4 or 6 months. So it's only a short term.
I guess my question really is, and again, apologies for not being completely familiar with all our rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I thought at a level we were supposed to go out to get 3 quotes. And secondly, the law is the law, whether it's
No, law, this is below the limits where we need to go.
Fine.
Through
the law, employment law, applies to all businesses. Local authority employment law is no different to garage.
Our financial regulations are very clear, and Martin Brookes knows this. The words it says attempt to get 3 quotes.
Okay.
I did attempt to get 3 quotes. The trouble is, for obvious reasons, I don't want to go into the circumstances. Chris Moses gave us very little notice of this happening because it was a personal situation. We therefore, for obvious reasons, given what's happening in the council at the moment, I needed to get someone quickly. I said, can we do a short-term contract? Because I'm sure the council will want to see what you like and approve it. So 6 months is below 1,000. And I think we just look and see. And if they're all ready, I can tell you, been fantastic. But that's for the council to decide. And, you know, Chris Moses is no longer working for us because of the situation. We need an HR man. We need an HR solicitor very quickly.
Yeah.
And they've come up trumps already, as you'll see later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Martin, if I may just jump in and then I'll give you the floor, sir.
Got the paper.
Yeah, so I've got it in front of me. Article 5.9 under procurement states that where the value is between £500 and £3,000, excluding VAT, the clerks are charged to obtain 3 estimates, which might include, and we go on to say this is a specialist service.
This is specialist.
The issue is simply here that it's a contract, and it's only for a 6 month, but they may then extend that contract. So that's the issue why it's brought forward. That's my belief. You can correct me, Clerk.
No, that's correct. It's a short-term contract.
So I will give you the floor.
You could use the word emergency because, as you know, we have some issues with the council and staffing.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Brookes.
One of the things when I look at our financial regulations and our standing orders is quite often they clash. Because one will say get 3 quotes, and the standing orders I believe you were looking at there says get them.
No, they're the financial rates.
Yeah, but actually I think this is, without getting into a big dispute, when I wrote the financial regulations, they were based on the model code, and I took out all those words that said might, but somehow in the process they seem to have gone back. And
can I explain that to you, Councillor Brookes?
well, it doesn't have to be explained. It happened. It's like the thing about gross misconduct has vanished, and you know, from the copy I looked at, you know, and that is on the model code. It says that if staff don't follow it, it's gross misconduct. And that was taken out after I'd done all the work. And that's what I found frustrating, because it took me 3.5 days.
You're off topic, please.
No, I am talking about how the confusion and when I've been talking to the office about things this last week, it's been noticed that there are conflicts between our standing orders and financial regulations. Now, the way I look at it, this should have been put to council as an emergency thing. It does fall within the remit of spending for the office because it's below a certain amount. But where they come a cropper is it's a contract renewal, and then our regulations, a change to contract. Our regulations and the standing orders say that it has to come to council. That's why it's here now. But what I would like to suggest is that we need this, and that's why I proposed it, because of the situation that happens or is happening, and that because this is retrospective, a 6-month contract, that in the meantime the staffing committee could look and observe that it's actually benefiting the council, and perhaps for the renewal go out and find, because I'm of the same thing, I was a shop steward for a union, and employment law is the same across the board. You know, it's no different for a council. So you can find other people. And I think in 6 months' time, it would be just nice that the council was given an opportunity, even with a recommendation that these people are wonderful. So I will shut up, but I'm hoping that from the annual meeting we are going to, with the help of the office, review, as we should be, all our policies again to get them so there isn't conflicts.
Okay, thank you very much for that commentary. I'd just like to clarify one point. Sorry, did you want to speak?
No.
The financial regulations were based on a NAC model April 24, which was at the time, and they were actually adopted on the 13th of February 2025. So what I'm trying to say is they've been enforced for quite some considerable time and based on a NAC model. So there was no ambiguity there whatsoever.
But they were changed in 2025.
They were adopted and the latest issue in 2025. Let's move on. It's not,
Anyway, we mustn't
have we
argue.
finished it?
We mustn't argue about it.
Have we finished the debate? Is there any other points you wish to raise?
No,
on this
I have frustrations about it, but I just want it to be done, and it is noted that I'm asking that the staffing committee review it, and with the office, maybe find at least one other person to compare.
Okay. Well,
Because they are.
Okay, thank you. That's noted, and it's going to go into the minutes.
Chair, I will bring to the staffing committee in 5 months' time a report on this, so they can review it.
I would say soon.
Because
But we need some experience of them.
Yeah, because there'd be no point continuing the contract and paying if it's no benefit to you.
Okay, and Councillor Clark.
Yeah, sorry, yes, I think, well, as the staffing committee chair, we need to start looking at this process now so that we make the decision in good time before the 6 months is up.
Yes, okay, thank you. So what we're basically saying is that we're requesting staffing committee to review the situation, to come back within a sensible time period so that this can actually be brought back to full council with, hopefully, a series of additional quotations. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like moving things retrospectively.
Okay.
And I apologise to the council that this was just necessary given the short.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So what I'd like to, we've had, the debate is finished, I think, so if we'd like to have a vote on the adoption of the resolution proposals. Do we need to do them separately, or are we happy to do them together? I think together. So proposal 1 and 2 then for agenda item 6. Could I have a show of hands, please? That's unanimous. Thank you. Have you got everything you need?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now we can come to the one I tried to jump to earlier, which is item number 7. Public spaces booking form. So if I could have a proposer for the paper, please, and then we will take a seconder, and then we will get into the debate. Seconded. So now I open the floor for debate.
I suppose I should speak on it as I work on it.
Do your thing.
This is not perfect, and it could be 100 times bigger. So it's basically, there was a lot of work. Melanie has been helping on it as well. This is so that we can have our events this year, that we put this in place, and I think it will probably come back to council. I've suggested, and the council need to probably ask Melanie. I don't like the word instruct, which I have used in some things, but that's the proper way of saying it. That Melanie, perhaps after this meeting, sends a copy to our insurers and asks them to go over it and say, have we missed anything? Or is there something we've done drastically wrong? Because at the end of the day, if we get a claim at one of our events, they will ask for this. And then we, rather than say now it's wrong or it needs this, than say, well, you haven't done that. And we'd have to then fork out money ourselves. So I'll shut up now, but that's...
May I?
Please, sorry, I was scribbling. Yes, please.
I thank Councillor Brookes for what he's done, and Melanie. I think for me it's about using it and then learning from our experience of using it, and it could well be quite right about getting feedback from our insurers, but also from the people who are booking using the booking form, to find out if there's some things that here we could do to make it easier for them to do. But I'm a great believer in just, it seems to be very comprehensive, use it, get some feedback from the users of the form, and maybe come back and make some amendments to it, but it looked fun to me.
I'd like to just clarify a point, if I may, and that is, you mentioned right at the beginning of your introduction that you wanted this subject to insurers. Does that mean that we're not going to be adopting it now, that we're actually going to say subject to the insurer's acceptance?
No, we want to adopt it because...
Regardless of what the insurers might or might not say.
It's based on lots of our old documents, lots of bits of law, and we'll be quite open, it's based as well on bits that I pulled out of Stanford Town Councils, which is about 100 pages. So.
But my concern is, and it's for consideration by the floor.
I've picked the basic things that you could think could go wrong, and I'm not an expert. And no offence, Melanie's not an expert in this, but it's better than what we had. And as soon as I saw that we hadn't got, we come into that next, the child and vulnerable adult policy, that would immediately void our insurance. So it's the same, if we didn't have a policy, it would cause us problems with insurance. And that's why I want that thing that Melanie goes to the...
My point is simply that you said right at the beginning that you felt that the insurers should give this the once over.
Yeah,
so my question to you, as the proposer of the motion, is: do you feel that we should proceed with the motion of adopting this, regardless of what the insurers might come back to say of its validity? And I'm just concerned that if they come back and say it's invalid, we find ourselves in an untenable position if we've adopted a policy that's invalid. And maybe what we can do is simply say that if insurers have no objections, that we then elect to adopt this policy. So that's what I want to actually throw into the debate.
I look at it that these policies say that they should be reviewed annually, but laws change and requirements of policies change
You're not answering my question about the insurer's
point
point
of
of
view.
view.
What I'm saying is that we need a policy. So we adopt this, and if the council feels minded to just check it out with the insurance, it can then, if they say something needs changing, it can come back as version 2.1.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't we just put that into the motion? You're not prepared to do that, is that right?
No, that's what I'm saying is, please, we accept this tonight, and then we ask the insurance company to have we missed any important facts? Because insurance companies, you know, I know it's on record, they will wangle their way out of anything, loss adjusters for insurance companies. So, but, you know, they don't want to do that, but they will go through that if there was ever a claim. We'll be lucky that there hasn't been any claims at our events.
Yeah, I still really haven't answered my question, which
I have answered the question, and my proposal is that we accept it, we accept what's here tonight, but with the addition that after this meeting, Melanie is authorised to send it to the insurance company and say, is this acceptable? And if they come back and say yes, that's fine. If they come back and say, actually, we would like you to implement this policy, then it can come back to council next month as a revision. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much for that, Councillor.
Because we need it for June.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
Yield the floor, please.
So, a question and a comment. The question is, could we, in the meantime, have a free-form comment box, basically say any other risks that you foresee, just to cover other things, like fire or something that's not on. And then secondly, is this going to be paper or is it going to be an online document, an online form that people can fill in?
They go online. All our policies should be online.
No, the payment form itself.
We send it.
Oh, the form.
Yeah.
But for risk assessment, that's what we did the other week. And risk assessment can be endless.
No, that's not what we're saying. What you're suggesting, if I could just briefly recap what you're suggesting.
So briefly,
And we'll vote on in a minute.
two things. One is a free-form text comment section so that people can add any other major risks that they foresee, just to give them an opportunity to own up to any major risks. Might not be required.
Are you proposing an amendment to the...
Yeah.
I'm happy if that's...
And secondly, it's just a question. Is this going to be paper or is it going to be an
Paper.
oral?
It has to be paper. So it has to
Email
be
that out.
printed off because in the storeroom by the first aid box, which is not the proper place at the moment, we have to keep the booking form and the risk assessment form in a folder.
That's absolutely fine.
So then at some point it will become paper and put in there.
I'd like to propose that we actually have a continued debate on the proposed amendment and that we actually then, Councillor Nichols, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my brain, I'm just struggling, I couldn't read it from here. And then we actually then, and what we'll do then is I suggest that we,
Just say something.
yes, I'm sorry, yes, I did cut you off, yes.
I'll have to point this out to the council. Obviously, I've looked at, done some research, and these all child security is very important. You're right. All documentation says to the event should. It never says you have to. It's not law at the moment. And I can assure you, risk is important, but there's also a risk. There is a risk if you adopt this now, the summer concerts cannot take place. We may not be able to afford it because there is a significant cost for this extra.
What, on the form?
Well, no, for the child.
That's the next, that's the next
The next
thing.
step.
We're discussing the adoption of the form.
I know.
Yeah, so we'll come to that.
I'm just saying that you've got to be aware that there's more.
Yeah, thank you.
The
That's,
more complex this gets, the more.
you're jumping the gun. We're just simply adopting the form. So
We're also putting this in place for the new laws, which is called, unfortunately, Martin's law.
Which is not my law.
okay, thank you. So at the moment, yeah, thank you very much indeed. I don't want to go too far off topic. We've got an awful lot to cover, and most of the issues you just raised will be brought up in the next agenda item. So I'd like to actually, if there's no further debate on purely about the amendments being proposed, it simply said that there will be a free-form text box on the form for any other major considerations. Is that right? Is that the wording you want to have?
That's absolutely fine.
Is that a wording we're voting on? So if we could have a vote whether, are you happy to accept the amendment?
Yes, because
Okay, then, so can we vote on the... Go ahead.
This free form is feedback, not for anything legal as such. In other words, if someone says there's a risk of this, we don't have to immediately take that on board and put it into a policy, because obviously that's... No. Well, I'm just asking what the purpose of it.
Well, we have to mitigate the risk.
No, well, we do every time we have it.
Well, it's been the same for any of the other risks that are on here. It's alcohol, it's blood alcohol, it's all, etc. I mean, there's an element of risk here. So this is just to enable any other risks that are not on here right now to be
Considered.
So, the proposal is then, are we amending the proposal to say that this is going to go to the insurers, or are you prepared just to allow the office to do that?
Well, I
actually-
think if we could mimic that, then Melanie knows she can do it.
I'd like to see...
Because I've got 3 proposals, but I could add, and we can do it on block if people are happy, but I can add proposals or that the office can,
ratify this with the insurance.
yeah, just to ask them if it's fine.
So let's just quickly go through that then. So we're going to go through, do you want me to step through these individually?
I think
With the amendment?
I think they can be done all together.
Okay, if we're happy to do that, then with number 4, the addition that says that the office will take this to the insurers to ratify. Is that the word we want to use? Or to review the adopted
Just to check that they're happy with it. Because at the end of the day, they're covering them.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we get the proposals in line. To review the adopted letting form. Yeah. So the addition to this is that we have amended it to say that the standardised booking form will be used with an additional free-form text box to identify any other major issues identified by the higher. Number 2 is the implementation date. 3 is the annual review, and 4 is the office to chase with the insurers. So if everybody's happy with that, then we'll take a vote on that. So if I could have a proposer for the amended motion, please, and a seconder. Do you want to second your amendment?
yes.
Thank
Ross,
Sorry, who's the proposer?
Councillor Brooks was the proposer, and Councillor Nick. What is wrong with my brain?
Or maybe the other way around, because it's your amendment.
It does.
Now, if you've accepted the amendment, the amendment doesn't
Okay.
have to be moved, it's just a proposal.
Yeah, so we've got a proposer and a seconder, so if we could take a vote, please, on whether we adopt this policy or not. Thank you. So the vote was unanimous. Have you captured all of that? Happy for me to move on. Thank you, Mark. So, I suspect this might be slightly more difficult. We're moving on to look at the adoption of the... Yeah, what's my page? Sorry, what number are we at? 8, yes. So, number 8, the adoption of the safeguarding policy and community partnership. Some substantial documents. Do you want to speak to it first and break the protocol, and then we'll then have a vote on whether the proposer and the seconder?
Yes, I can.
Actually, the board author is the town clerk, isn't it? So do you want to speak to this? What? The paper on number 8 says the proposer, the board author was the town clerk.
Why is it on the town clerk when I wrote it?
I'm just going by the papers in front of me, Councillor.
Sorry?
That's your paper.
Yeah, why is it got the town clerk in there?
Did you put
So, okay, if we have to, this is easily resolved. If the report author is not the town clerk, then we'll accept that actually. Thank you, Councillor. It's Councillor Brooks.
changed it?
We will ask Councillor Brooks to speak before we actually then get to the vote in a second. And then we debate.
Okay. Well, we had a comment slightly came up about that this will cost the council money. It doesn't have to cost the council money because, unfortunately, last time my suggestion for volunteers was thrown out because we didn't have a policy, and so we didn't get to that. But I've been speaking to people who have a connection with the Lions Club of Rutland, and we can use them if they consent. They do stewardship things. Even the Rotary do. So there are organisations. You know, I had Bob Lucas at the end of my road steward in the weekend. So it shouldn't cost us anything. And a lot of the big organisations who come, for instance, like the Baptist Church, they will have a similar policy for children. Churches considered a bit of a high risk, so they have to make sure that it's all implemented. This policy is mainly to ensure that when we have our band concerts, that we are complying as well. And it is a requirement. I was actually quite surprised that we didn't have a policy for it. And it's an important thing to make sure that if something goes wrong with a vulnerable person or children, that we handle it correctly. Because if we don't, we could end up with lots of problems. And Melanie did the bulk of the work on this policy. So
Sorry, Martin. There's just a couple of items in there that I just think also need to just be addressed. Is the fact that when you just refer back to volunteers, it would be lovely if we could get people like Lions, etc. on board. However, I have reached out. I just want this to be noted before it goes to vote. I have reached out a lot recently for volunteers to assist us with different things, and we're not getting them. And just a consideration that we would have to take the hit on cost to implement this. I'm not saying that we shouldn't implement it. I just think that we need to consider it, and also that is a basic policy because I felt under pressure to deliver that to council, and it does need more work.
yeah, I understand.
Well. Yeah.
But my concern is that we don't have anything. We've had events in the park where there has been no member of the council there, so that should never happen. So, you know, if we're not going to adopt this, and we're not going to seek help from the Lions because we don't want to give them a donation like everybody else does, it's not thousands of pounds. If we went to a private company, it would be thousands for security. But we cannot have events with the public, you know, and this is like the previous document I've looked at it, we don't know if it really 100% complies, but it's a start. And by 2027, we've got to have all these things in place for our events, because it's going through government for public events. That we were supposed to be getting a quote for the bollards to stop people driving in from the car park, but we've done nothing.
Oh, we have.
Sorry,
We have.
You're going up.
It was a long time. Sorry, Melanie, for saying that. It's because it was decided a long time ago.
Okay.
So don't take that as.
I'd like to quickly point out that you've got 30 seconds left of your 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want to do. I think it's important
there are other people wish to
that
speak.
we adopt this. And again, that it can come back to council in a month or two to be revised again. There's no rules about that.
Okay, so that you've got 15
and I'm happy
seconds.
to help Melanie if she needs any help.
Councillor, what's wrong with me? Thank you. Yes, wave your hand. Yes, thank you.
Just 3 questions. Are we reinventing the wheel by trying to write a policy from scratch? Because this is simply, put simply, our commitment and our duty to have a policy. I'm not trying to be flippant, but I can find one on the internet in 30 seconds. Could we not use and tailor that? So are we reinventing the wheel and making things difficult for ourselves? I'm concerned that we're unsure if it's comprehensive or correct, to quote Martin's word, Councillor Brookes' words. So if we're not sure if it's comprehensive and or correct, what's the point? Because we could end up in I was going to say bogus model, but in a terrible model. And thirdly, I would assume, wrongly, that Rutland County Council would have a thorough policy to cover this matter in all things that they do, and I speak having worked in local government, wouldn't it be sensible to see what their policy is and see if we can amend it to our particular needs?
Okay.
I think we're making it more difficult than it needs to be.
Okay. Just before I bring you in, you let other people on the floor have
Can I respond to that?
nothing from anybody else. Go ahead.
Well, my comment was, would just be, it's been mentioned that it might cost us some money. Well, that's just the cost of putting on events. I'd rather we put on events as a council than not, because we haven't.
Thank you. Before you, I'm going to bring in Melanie.
Just to reassure you, that was taken from RCC's safeguarding and thinking about based on what we've got.
So if we were to assume, if we were to assume that that is legally compliant, enforceable, and fits the purpose, why don't we simply change the titles and adopt that?
I'll explain why. RCC's is far more comprehensive because they actually engage with young people for activities, and we don't.
We should.
No, we don't. Because if you think about it, RCC hold all sorts of activities that are directly engaging with children. We put on events for families where children come along with mums and dads, etc. The council does not provide activities for them. This council does not provide activities for children per se. So what we're trying to do is provide a safeguarding policy that covers us. But we, for instance, we are not DBS checked. We don't have that capability to have DBS checked representatives at each event. So the reason I'm saying this is because I've adopted it as best I can to fit what we put on.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Okay. You have the right to reply, but we'll just continue with the debate.
Yeah.
No, wait, I don't want to speak. You have the right to reply, but we haven't finished the debate. So I just simply want to say that if we were to adopt this policy now, there's a danger that we'd not be able to run the events in the park, quite simply because we're not in a position yet. So what I'm really comfortable with this policy. I think it's the right thing to do. What concerns me is that we'll get to the situation where we don't have councillors who want to attend, and they don't necessarily have to. We don't have DBS qualified councillors. We don't have. So what I'm suggesting is that we postpone this. We bring it to the next meeting, and we do all the financial research that's necessary to say there will be an additional cost to adopt this policy of X, and that we then vote on the increase in the budget. And I think that's a far more sensible option than actually saying if we adopt this policy now, we really cannot proceed with any other events because of the constraints of the policy, and we're not in a position to do so. So it's a bit of a fudge, but that would be my proposal. So, Councillor Brookes, before we go to vote on the proposed amendment, we bring it to the next council meeting with costings and how we're going to get the necessary support to implement this. Because I think the policy is worthwhile. I just think that actually we just don't have the resources to actually do it. And I'd hate to put ourselves in a position where we cannot hold any events or consider holding such events until such times as we're ready to go. So I think, when is the first event as a matter of interest? 21st of June, so we've got a little while. And the next meeting is on the 13th of May. So we could get the costing, do the research. Is that possible? Yes? Yes, look at the office.
There's all the insurance covering it with zero insurance. We can't. I know what zero insurance companies.
No, it's simply that we know, I agree with the policy, and that if we're going to adopt the policy, it's simply that we do need to get first aid cover, and we're talking about the lines, and we're talking about what is the cost of actually getting safeguarding, aware event staff and stewards, etc., etc. So I think if there's a cost to that, then let's know what the cost is, let's vote on it, and let's actually get it implemented, rather than adopt a policy that's going to actually, is, at the moment, doesn't give us all the information that we need.
I'll just make a comment here and see how critical this is, because obviously I used to go to Speedway a lot, and they have safeguarding. I know that you're going to say it's completely different. You're putting in safeguarding rules here. One of your comments is, and I agree with these comments, the two-bit adult rule. The point must be staffed at all times by a minimum of 2 DPS test adults. That means, if I was there and there was less than 2, I would have to close the event, stop it, there and there.
Yeah, but you would ensure that.
That means we've got to have 3 or 4.
The Baptist Church.
Let him make his point. I'm going to give you the right to reply, Councillor Brookes. Councillor Brookes, I'm going to give you the right to reply. Just hear what he's got to say and then you may reply.
As soon as you put the word must in, that means we're in legal trouble if we do not comply with that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All the research,
Councillor Brookes, please.
all the research I've seen says the word should. In other words, the 2 adult room, the point must be staffed, should be staffed at all times by a minimum.
Okay, thank you very much.
Legally, we need advice on this because I suspect we could find ourselves.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Right, so what I'm suggesting here is that I'm going to give Councillor Brookes the right to reply, and then we'll vote on the amendment that I'm proposing, that we postpone this decision until the next meeting, and that we ask the staff, the office, to find out the financial implications and also the go through with a fine-tooth comb regarding the legal implications. I think it's an excellent idea, and I'm not against it. I just don't want to implement a policy. So, Councillor Brookes, you have the right to reply.
I'm timing back on the timing. Right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure you had more than 3 minutes.
I don't think so. Carry on.
Must and should, surely that's the same word.
No,
Not
no,
the
no,
same meaning.
No.
If I tell you you should do it, then you've got to do it.
No.
No,
It doesn't.
But everybody else's policies, councils that have policies, say must.
if they say must, they legally.
Okay, then
This is the problem.
if we could just restrict
This
this
is
to
the
one
problem
person
though,
speaking
where
at one time.
I'm not an expert, nor are the office, and I'm finding it quite annoying, not with the office, but when I go and look at other councils, I think we're going to have to pay money and have our policies done by legal people. Because Stanford has a page, we're on how many pages there, Melanie? Not many, but Stanford have thousands of pages of policies, and you can tell they've been done by solicitors. They cover everything. My big fear is that if we put these events on, and then some child or a vulnerable adult has an incident, and the insurance company says, where is the counsellor or the nominated person? Well, nobody wanted to go. That's why we have a policy that says we must. Because if we say we should, and then have an event with nobody there, which has happened, we won't be covered. So it's not being, and this was based, as Melanie said, on Rutland County Councils. And that was correct what she said. When Rutland County Council do their policy, it's based on the fact it's not one-on-one, but there are people working with the children. All we're asking that there must be a must for is that when somebody is lost, there are 2 responsible adults, which is a requirement. Nobody takes a child these days on their own, because you could be open to allegations or anything, and that's a safeguarding whoever's doing the job. You have 2 people. So anyway, sorry, I go on, but I'm worried that if something did happen, we're always told we're covered. Years and years I've been told we're covered. But if you don't have a policy in place for the insurance company to look at, and you don't implement it, because that's as well, then we don't get covered. And this council would have to pay out every penny the person's claimed.
Okay.
So that's why we're doing it. It's not just to be awkward, as somebody said to me, oh, you're just making this difficult for people and they won't want to use it. Well, go to the Baptist Church as one example who use our thing. They have CAB people because they are working with children. And when they have their events, they have appointed people who look after the children.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Brookes. We're going to vote now on...
There was an amendment on the table. There was
I'm just going to clarify that now.
Are you making an amendment to the proposal? That's what
Well, I'm proposing an amendment, and the amendment says that we accept that this is a good policy and needs to be implemented. I think that goes without saying. But the issue is simply that we just don't know enough to implement it effectively. So therefore, what I'm suggesting is that we bring this back to council at the next council meeting on the 8th, and that we will ask the office to come back. 14th, I'm sorry, 13th. 13th. Goodness me. Can't remember names, can't remember dates. So the 13th, and then what we'll do is that we're going to ask the office to research, to come back with indicative costs and how much we're likely to have to increase the budget to cover this for the moment, for the events, etc. But I think it is an excellent policy. So that's the proposal that we postpone. So could I have I'm going to propose, could I have a seconder, please? So, Councillor Wadsworth, yes. And could we have a quick vote, please? That's with, and those who are against. Sorry, was that an against?
That's an against. Yeah,
That's an
because
against.
I think we should have done similar to what we did to the first one.
So that's fine.
Because we have no policy.
Do you want your negative?
It doesn't have to be recorded.
Okay, so.
Well, by the time the events happen,
We need to be
it
in a
should be
bit.
sorted.
Yeah,
So-
2, 3, 4,
Hopefully.
5, 5 for and 1 against. Are you happy to proceed with the next item? Melanie? Yeah? I'm conscious it's not got a scribbling and an awful lot of mention, so thank you. Okay, item number 9, events. This is, have I got this right this time? It's your papers, Councillor Wadsworth?
It is me.
Yes, it is you, so if you'd like to speak to this then please, and then we will get a proposer and seconder.
Right. All the bands have now been booked and we just need to ratify that we have done it. This is to give the public free band concerts during the summer. I've listed all the bands there and what dates we're having them. Begins on Father's Day, concludes on August bank holiday. So basically what I'm proposing is that there is to approve the expenditures of the listed bands above at a cost of £5,520. To take out advertising on Rutland and Stamford Sound up to a cost of £1,500, just in case anybody is concerned about Rutland Times. That has now been cancelled, so we're not paying to advertise in the Rutland Times now. We're using that funds to advertise on the Rutland and Stamford Sound. To purchase 3 advertising banners, bands, I should have put banners, up to a cost of £1,000, and to hire inflatables which will be manned by the provider on the 28th of June and the 30th of August, which are our 2 long events. One's the Armed Forces Day and one is the bank holiday, which we have at an extended time at a cost of £1,090. This all totals £9,110 and will come from the events budget, which has already been completed. That is in with the budget.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Do I have a proposer? And then we'll have a debate. So, Councillor Wadsworth is proposing. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. And so I now open the floor for debate. Yes, indeed. Councillor Harris. It's all coming out.
That's it.
That's the way to do it. Yes, exactly.
That's unlike punching through.
Do you recall that Councillor Wadsworth was concerned that this might not happen, so the fact that it does, I think you should congratulate you. My question is, does anybody listen to Rutland Sound?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do they?
I'm told they do.
By Rutland Sound, probably. By Rutland Sound. Because that seems to me to be an awful lot of money. And the proposal doesn't mention Facebook and other social media.
What's the costing?
Well, you need, there's a working
Well, it will
group
be
you
on my
need.
Facebook because it'll be all over my Facebook. well, not my personal one,
Ours.
Oakham Town Council's Facebook.
Because
And our website.
Melanie and I were talking 6 or 9 months ago about having a look at our communications policies. I don't listen to radio, Rosslyn Sound, whatever it is. Okay, so it's on Facebook and those sorts of places.
Anybody else got any other things you want to say? Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, when we come to the proposals, it says list of bands above the cost, so that's a definite cost.
Yes.
But that's going to have to come to council to be approved payment.
Release of funds will have to be approved, yes.
Yeah. To advertise on Rutland, I should say Stamford
Yes.
Sound, shouldn't it? Up to a cost. Now, we're setting a budget, so I guess then rather than saying, because working group can't, we had that issue in the week, the working group can't spend money that the council hasn't approved. So that one would need to know, and I can assure Mr. Harris that people do listen to it. It's a particular demographic, Rutland people, you know, because they set up the original station, and it does have a good figures. And I don't think that we would need to spend £1,500. When I asked them to quote last year, in comparison with the Rutland Times, which we didn't use Rutland and Stamford Sound in the end, I think it was about 2/3 of the price. If you were to spend £1,500 on Rutland and Stamford Sound, people would probably get fed up with listening to the advert all day.
Do you have a point you wish to raise on this particular item?
Can I clarify for you, just to make that easier?
Yeah.
So I have had a conversation with them, and that package is a bespoke package for our events,
Right.
and that it will cost that much money, and it equates to about 250 plays per month.
It's a lot,
It is a lot, but you need a lot.
which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we make, can
So-
we,
so the
can
price
we
is
have
realistic,
that
I think it's
amended,
really big
can we
deal.
have that amended that that's what it's going to cost? Because we always get this put up, we shouldn't be proposing and accepting that it might be that it's up to, if it is 1,500, then that's what we have to approve.
That includes the banners though, doesn't it?
No,
the
the
banners
banners
are
Apologies.
Up to
That's the cost of it.
And I think there's a
Oh,
typo.
okay, right,
There's a
yes.
typo on here because I'm assuming that's advertising banners. Up to
Yeah,
the
that's
cost.
already been covered, thank you.
But we don't have again we don't have a price of what we can't approve up to.
Okay, well, we'll approve £1,000 then.
Yeah, it's fine. And then if you spend less, please don't be cross.
Not cross.
No, you just.
It's just nitpicking.
No, it's not because.
Councillor Brooks, can you just stick to the point? 'Cause we-
Yeah, we have to do
Thank
it
you.
properly, that's all. And the other point, on the inflatables, Councillor Wadsworth or Salia said that these people will be providing. Can I ask that Melanie make sure that they have followed correct procedures, because the last 2 big prosecutions of town councils have been very, very serious incidents that have involved bouncy castles
So
where
I've
children have been killed.
got their ADIBs, I've got their public liability, so I've covered everything that we should
Thank
cover
you.
as
I just
council.
wanted some
Yeah.
assurance
Yeah.
because I don't want to be going to court for something
Yeah.
horrible.
Okay, are we,
So is that figure then at the last bit, and then I'll shut up, is what we're going to? A definite figure.
expenditure of £9,110
Yeah.
is company events budget?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I propose it?
Can I just,
Oh, I second
before you do that, I want to suggest a very small amendment, and that's in light of what was said at item 8, safeguarding vulnerable adults policy. Clearly, that we don't want to be getting expenditure done before we've actually got a safeguarding vulnerable adults policy in place. So I'm quite happy for that to happen, and if you approve the expenditure, but subject to a suitable safeguarding and vulnerable adults policy. So that's my amended proposal. So can I have it's exactly as listed with that one addition. So could we have I'm proposing, could we have a seconder for the amendment, please? Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Brooks. So with that amendment then, can we have a vote on all en masse, unless somebody wants to do them individually? So we just have the vote, please. We've got a proposer and a seconder. So vote on the proposal with the addition. God, what's wrong with my head? That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Did you copy the addition?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Rattling on. Number 9 is the grant policy, the grant application. So we have a paper for this. So is this going to be spoken to?
Is it 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
10, sorry, yes. 10. The grant application has come in.
If you want. Obviously, this is a grant application, obviously, from the church, All Saints Church. I'm sure if you've read it, you can see it's a refurbishment of the All Saints Church clock to preserve an important historic feature. And obviously, you can see the breakdown of the funding and how much money they're applying for, which is the key fact here. They're applying for 2,160 from our grant, which will only obviously partially cover the whole project, which is a significant one, which you can see over the page. Yes, we've done 1.3, where you can actually see a breakdown of the tender report of all the things that have got to be done around the clock. So we'll be pointing at all kinds of, this is a big project for the church. And really, it's up to, as I'm sure Councillor Brookes and others know, we are now in a position where we used to not be able to put anything on religious buildings, but we can now. The law's been changed, so grants from this establishment is perfectly acceptable. It's up to there's a budget for grants, this is within the budget, so it's a question of whether the council wants to cover this or part of it.
Sorry, no. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Apologies.
No, so basically we've got the budget which could cover it. But obviously it's a question of whether you want to cover it totally, or you can make a decision to cover it partially or not at all. That's entirely within your framework of the doing, depending on how important you feel it is.
Okay, can I have a... Yes, I know. We're going to propose in seconds and then we'll have the debate. Yes. So, can I have a proposer, please? Thank you very much. Councillor Clark, and a seconder. Councillor Nichols, thank you. I'm getting better. So, now we'll go into debate and over to Councillor Harris.
I can't vote for this because have you applied for funding from elsewhere? No. If your application is unsuccessful, are funds available to ensure your project goes ahead? Alternative funding options will be considered if required.
I think that's a bit of cheek, really, regardless of who that application for funding is from. Either coming to us because they perhaps think we'll say yes automatically, but why have they not applied to other places? Would be my first question.
If you want, I can go back and ask these questions.
So, thank you. Well, anybody else want to speak? I'm trying to avoid... Councillor Nichols. And then I'll come to you, Councillor Brookes.
This is just a question, really. I'm not familiar with the call that this is responding to. So,
sorry, we have a grant budget every year that anybody, as a one-off, our grant policy is very, for instance, a citizen advice used to get money from us in the past, but we now have a grant policy which is very simple, which is we don't do continual grants. So in other words, citizens advice used to get money from us year in, year out. We realised, no, that's not what this grant is for, a one-off, not a continual investment. So it's just a grant to try and get a project going or to finish a project.
I'm going to want to set down how much it is actually we set aside, which we haven't spent anything yet. Is that right? 3.
Is it? Right, yeah.
Is it 5? 5. It's 3. I thought it was 3, and we haven't spent anything. Can you confirm that? Okay, so we've got 3,000.
I'm just starting.
Hey, who knows? Councillor Brookes. And
Yeah,
then
it
Councillor
is.
Clark.
I'll be very quick, but I will not be supporting this. If I can just respond, citizen advice is citizen advice Rutland. That was the issue, why we stopped it. But they got grants under a different act. Well, the clerk brought it up. The church used to come to us and tell us that the clock was the town's clock, which was incorrect. And this council for many, many years paid for all the service and everything. Eventually, the council went, no. But unfortunately, the government changed the law recently, which means that they come to us now because they can ask us for money for the fabric, which the clock is. Now, I've done some research. They have a fabric fund, which includes for the restoration and servicing of the clock. It has substantial funds in it. They also have the Friends of All Saints Church, who raise money for the fabric fund. So why are they not raising money for the clock? I think they've seen an opportunity because, unfortunately, we have a grant system that is not publicised in the general public. The policy is that we are supposed to give small grants to individual organisations, not individual people, but organisations. We give it no publicity. We're coming to the end of the financial year. Again, we haven't spent the £3,000 next year because we haven't spent it.
Sorry,
We're
in the new
financial
financial year.
This is not for last.
So this came in for last year.
Yes, but it has to be.
So that's gone. So
That's gone.
we didn't do it. So
Yeah.
in fact, we only have £2,000 this year because the budget was reduced. So we don't have enough for what they're even asking for. But I think from a personal point of view, I see we spend money on the churchyard, which apparently has not even been officially adopted by this council. It's not in the Diocesan Register at Peterborough. We have spent money on the church wall. I think we've given them in the last 3 years about £27,000 because we granted them for the windows during, I think it was just after COVID. We don't do it for other churches was always the issue as well, because we were always told they're the established church, so they used to always get things. I'm not against the church because I'm one of the people who's been moaning that we're not looking after the churchyard properly, but I don't see that we are responsible for this clock, and I'll shut up now, and I'm not going to vote for it, and I would like it recorded as well when I vote. I'm not going to.
Just like to thank you very much for that contribution. I'll load the floor back up in a minute. I've just looked up
the new thing.
I've just looked up the actual, and actually the budget is £2,000. That's what's on the website.
So how much?
2,000. So, does anybody else wish to comment on this?
Yeah,
Amendment
in
or
fact, I
anything?
think it's been answered. I just wondered what's happened in previous years, whether we supported applications from the church, and clearly from
It was illegal before previously. I think the government's changed the law. Am I correct in saying that?
It was difficult because some of the things you can give grants, but it was a very narrow.
The rules have
line.
changed.
But also it's because, I won't say names, but people had connections on this council.
So but the rules have changed, and we can now
we can
legitimately make
We
a
can,
contribution.
but we don't have to.
Shh. So it exceeds the budget. That's the first thing we need to say. And so we now need. I'd like to make a proposal.
Go on then.
And that is that we actually offer £500.
That's the none that I had in my head.
Yeah.
Good. So I'd like to propose an amendment that says that we
Make a contribution.
make a contribution of £500.
I will second that.
Well, yes, exactly. So this is. I'm just doing that now. Sorry. So that's the proposal I'm putting forward. So I'm going to propose that. Do I have a seconder?
Yes.
Yes, and I'd like to go to.
Because if we give them 500, if we agree to give them £500 and they don't raise the rest of the money, then we just give them £500 and it won't go ahead.
So it's basically saying subject to the rest of the fund being allocated to the
Fires
funds to
until they
support.
get the rest of the money.
Subject to the work being done.
No, it would be easiest if you say subject to the work being done, because then if they do the church clock.
Okay, I'm happy to accept that amendment.
Our logo goes on the clock.
Okay, Jonathan.
Difficulty reading it.
Okay, so the proposal is that we offer 500 quid and that will be subject to the work being completed. Okay, so we have a proposer in me. Do we have a seconder? Okay, and can we have a vote on that one, please? That's all the yeas, and the noes is Councillor Brooks. Do you want that recorded, Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Yes, please.
We're going to spend probably about 20,000 on
Do
the
you want
front
to do a roll
wall.
call or record the names of those that accepted? That said yes.
Well, there's only Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I'm just asking
Yeah,
questions.
thank you. No, thank you.
Good. Good, okay, we're happy to move on then. So the next item on the list is Realtis, the payroll contract, which Realtis, sorry. What's happened to my notes? I think
Income and expenditures.
yes, Realtis. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so it's the Realtis to seek approval for Oakham Town Council to employ Realtis and provide the reassurances removed from income and expense system required by the auditors. This, I'm guessing, is the town clerk's paper, is that right?
Yes, it is
So if you'd like to speak to that, then, please.
It's mine this time, yes, yes. It says town clerk.
I'm sure it's not Councillor Brooks.
Would you like to do it? Right. No, this is just a simple report. We're obviously going through the end of the year. I'm pretty confident now. This is a nervous time for any town clerk or any parish clerk. The ADR has been completed now, but we have for a long time, unfortunately, not quite got to the stage of an income and expenditure. We're close to it because you're using the right package, but income and expenditure is quite complex, and you have to get it right. So I'm setting aside £980 to just check that if we have a problem at the end of the year, that we can cope with it. If not, then we'll put the money towards training to make certain that we comply with the regulations, which are anything over a precept of 200k should do income and expenditure. So it's important we get the training from the realtors. We've got the right package, we're using the right things. It's just complex things about income and expenditure, and it will point out what is in complex too, just so you understand. We have to move from a gross system to a net system. So all our budget will be net, not gross. So for instance, I'll give an example. Our ground maintenance contract's 32k with VAT. Without it, it'll be 24k or something like that. So in the budget columns, instead, once we move to this, you will see net, not gross. And the assumption will be that we get the VAT back on everything that we put there. The difference would be, for instance, Oakham Hopper Bus, we don't pay VAT, so although it will be the same figure, so it's a bit complex. Some figures will change in the budget, others won't, and we go from income to expenditure and receipts.
Before I hand over, what budget are you proposing to use? The training budget or the office budget or
the
something
training
else?
budget. The training budget.
And do we have sufficient income in the training budget?
Yes, we do. I believe we do, yes.
But
It would set aside for silver training, that's separate. So that's already paid for.
We need to identify the budget.
I'll check what we've got the budget for.
So we're proposing this comes from the training budget, yes?
Yes.
Or the office budget?
Well, no, let's try the office. I think the office budget is more because just in case we have an end of year situation.
We need to know which budget you're proposing. So
And office.
Office budget is where it's coming from. Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Could I have a proposer, please? And then we'll have a second, and then we'll go into debate. Okay. Proposed with Councillor Harris, Nichols, and Councillor Clark. What is wrong, really? I think I'm hungry, that's the issue.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day, actually, yeah. Okay, thank you very much indeed. So I now open the floor to debate, and I'm breaking with tradition and going to go straight with Councillor Nichols.
It's just a comment. The budget states on here, it says budget header floral displays.
Yeah, that's completed by the office, and that's unfortunately a typo, and I've just scribbled through mine and made a note to make sure it's not there all the time.
Yeah.
So the budget is actually going to be from the office budget.
Yeah.
But that's a copy over in the template. Yes.
Typo,
Is that your question?
That was it.
Okay, Councillor Brooks.
I'm very confused because I always thought that Realtors was the software that we use, which puts those little red boxes on our printout.
Reconciliation.
And I thought we bought that, and because Adam Lowe implemented that many years ago. So I don't understand because I've never ever seen this come to council before. Like, what does it mean to employ Realtors? That means you're just using it.
Oh yes, no employment as in employing a new member of staff in. This is employing as use.
So is this the annual cost for what we've been paying?
No,
which
this is
I had
the end of year assessment and the price on how to go through income and expenditure. So we're moving to, we need to move to be compliant with audit. This year will say we need to move to income and expenditure, and I've already ticked the box saying that, but it's to close the accounts and move to income and expenditure. I can't tell you how complex that is. It's quite complex.
Yeah. What I don't understand is if we bought the software.
No, this is to actually get the office so that you move, close the book accounts for this year, last financial year now, of course, and move to income and expenditure for this year.
I understand this is training.
It's not training as such; it's knowledge, I
I don't, that's what it doesn't
And
really.
that's the software already supports what you're trying to do,
yes, but we need to.
and you need.
I just don't understand what you're getting for the £980 because I can remember the council buying the software. I mean, I'm not saying you don't need it, but I would
There's
like
a quotation there. We've seen it.
Yeah, but it
So exactly, it's a launch and training.
Mine says no changes to license and annual support.
Yeah, but if you look down, one-off costs first year, launch and training, £980. That's the bit we're referring to, Councillor.
So we're renewing the software license?
No, it's launch of the changes and the training associated with it. That's what it says.
We've already paid for, I'm paying for the Altus as an annual thing.
And this is now additional?
Yes. For one, it's a one-off.
How
Although
does-
every year, to be honest, Councillor
It's over the next one.
every year we've done it. Every year we've done it. The close of that year is always very complex. We're getting to a stage, I'm getting to a stage where I'm fairly confident of closing it now. I can tell you that most councils have a year closure and pay £1,000. I don't think necessarily we need to do that this year because I've already been through it with the artists and I'm very happy with what we've got.
So this is for training to
we need
introduce
to get it
new
right because the internal audit, it says here, is coming on Wednesday the 20th of May. We need to have our ducks in a row and have the initial talk with him and then move to Realtus and say, this is what we need to do.
Okay, well, you know your thing, but it just surprises me that we got it. But Chris Clark, can I ask the chairman, through the chairman, you're
What is it?
finance chairman, aren't you?
No, we don't have a chairman because we haven't met.
Oh, you haven't met yet, so
No.
this has not been to the finance committee. So I'm totally lost. I've never seen it before, what it's actually going to do. But that's if you.
Quite essentially, Councillor Brooks, without it, we can't actually move to income and expenditure because both the clerk and myself need to understand the changes. We currently do receipts and payments, which is one version, but because our precept is so much more, we should be on another version which is income and expenditure. And so to ensure that we have the knowledge to do that correctly, that's what that cost is.
Unlimited, it says here.
But you've got. Are we still using two software things? Because
No,
that's always
just
an
one.
issue. So and it is just now Realtus.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
that's
just,
fine.
it's just a different method we have to apply.
Are there any further questions on this then? Can I have a... Sorry, just doing your glasses. Can I have... We have a proposer and a seconder, I believe. Yes, we do. So can we have a vote on the motion, please? Thank you very much indeed. Good. Moving on then, we need now to go to item 12, which is matters. Okay, so let's just vote and then you can tell them. Because I think I may have to have a little comfort break. So, matters for consideration in private to resolve that the press and public be excluded from the meeting through consideration of the following items of the grounds that they relate to individuals and financial affairs of persons. The information is classed as exempt under paragraphs 1, 2 and 3 of Schedule 12A to Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972. Could I have a proposer, please? Thank you. I have a proposer, Councillor Wadsworth, and a seconder with Councillor Clerk, and a vote to go with consider the following items in private. Thank you very much indeed. That's carried unanimously. We're going to switch off all the... Yes, and I'm going to go and empty my bladder. If anybody needs to do the same, we'll take a 5-minute break.
You didn't have to say that.
Oh, that's too much information.